Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Dragana here from Saacibo. Today I want to make another journal like this one. This size and this format, and I thought I will record the process. A few of you have asked me how I make these covers, so I thought I'll just switch the camera on and I'll show you how I do it. There's so many great tutorials out there about making fabric covered journals. I don't know if they're the same or different from what I'm doing. Anyway, I thought I'll just record and then you be the judge of that, and if you like my method, great. If you don't, there are other methods, I'm sure, but this is how I am doing them. Alright, so why I like this format? Basically because in Europe we use mostly A4 size paper, and with this size journal I can use A4 size papers in two different ways. So this is what I mean. I'll just open it up. This journal is not finished, so I haven't put the signatures in, so I'll put them aside. If you take A4 size paper and you fold it, like that, it's basically like this. You can fold it 3 times. So if you have a signature like that, and then you fold this side in, and then when you're writing, you can open it up and write more, or just fold it in, or even cut it off. If you cut it off, you can make little notepads with it, and that way you have no waste. You use up your paper. No cutting, no messing around, and no little scraps. The other reason I like this format is if you take, say, an A4 size notepad or one of these, like from books, and you don't want to do this, you want to have the lines the way they're supposed to be. You just fold it in half and it fits. Again, no cutting apart from the bottom bit. You cut off the bottom bit, or you use it to make a little pocket or something, but it's really great. The same for this one. So this is the reason I started making journals of this size in the first place. It's not that hard to do, so I'll show you how it's done. First of all, you'll need chipboard. Put everything else aside, and you need 2 pieces that are 4 1/8 wide and 8 1/4 long. In centimeters, that is 10.5 centimeters or 21 centimeters. This, and you need 2 of those. Okay. If you don't have chipboard, you can use like cereal boxes or other cardboards, but you would need to have 2 or 3 stuck together to make it a bit more firm, because as you can see, this is quite thick, and I've been using chipboard. So you also need a piece for your spine, which is 1 1/4 inches wide, and again 8 1/4 tall. So this is a kind of essential basically. So either use several pieces of cardstock glued together, like 1 or 2 depending on the thickness, or if you have like a sketch pad or something like that, and the backing of the sketch pad usually has this chipboard, you can use that. That's perfect. Alright, so you need that. Also, you will need paper for the inside of the cover, and I have cut mine already, like these papers, and I think I wrote down dimensions. Yeah, so 8 1/8 of an inch or 20.6 centimeters, and wide is 3 3/4 of an inch or 9.6 centimeters. And as you can see, just to compare, they're slightly smaller than your cover. Okay, then what I do, I put fabric over it. So you'll need a piece of fabric that you want, or lace that you want to put there after you finish gluing it all together. This one is a bit long, but I will trim it later. So you can either pull these sides in and have a neat edge like that when you glue it, or you can just cut it to size and have that raw edge, frayed edge, whatever you prefer. Alright, and also you will need fabric. So you'll need fabric that is a little bit bigger than your journal, at least 1 inch wider. So I'll just do it like this, just so you can see the size. So you take your fabric and these are your pieces, like that. Okay, so I have quite a lot of fabric around. I won't need that much, but you're aiming at least 1 inch on all sides. What I have here is probably a bit more, but I'll trim it off, you know, that's not a problem. So you'll need about 11-inch piece of fabric that is about 11 inches wide and about 9.5 or 10 inches tall. Also, if you want to have these fancy things, or if you can, that's like optional, but I have them and I like to use them. The way I put them on, I don't use the little screws that come with them. I actually have small split pins like that one, and I use them. And also book corners, you know, you can have book corners if you like. It just gives you a nice finished look, but like I said, that's optional. All right, for the fabric, I just want to mention, if you're using thinner fabric like I'm using here, this is like a cotton and it is kind of porous, so if I was to glue this onto the chipboard, most definitely it will leak, or the glue would come through. So if you're using fabric like that, you will need to actually make it into a book cloth, and you do that by ironing a piece of interfacing that has glue on one side. I don't know if you can see, it has little granules of glue. This is a woven one, the one that's a fabric with the glue, and the way to do it, you put it down, the glue side facing the wrong side of your fabric, and you take your iron and you iron until it's stuck to the fabric. These come in different thicknesses. Like this one here is more like, almost like paper. It's really thin, but I decided to use a thicker one for this fabric. If you're using a fabric like a upholstery fabric that is already thick, then you don't need to do this. You can just skip this part, but you know, it all depends on what type of fabric you're going to use for your journal. All right, so simple as that. Let's begin. First of all, I don't know, perhaps this is a step that most people would skip, but I don't like gluing this directly onto the fabric. I like to actually first use masking tape. I want to secure it how it's supposed to be, and then I glue it onto the fabric. I don't know if other people are doing that or not, but this is my preferred way. And to do that, I usually put something heavy on one side, like this. It's quite heavy. This side. And then I take a spare piece of chipboard that is the same thickness as the chipboard I'm using, and I push it against this and like that, because you want that gap if you don't have it, your book is going to be difficult to open and close, and the fabric is going to be in between, filling up those holes. And you know, if you don't do that, you wouldn't be able to close the book or open it. It would be really kind of tough. So I do it like that. And also I need something, put something heavy on this side. Let's grab this box of candles, just like that. And then I take a my masking tape, just ordinary one you buy hardware stores, and I cut it a little bit more than, just like that. This is not going to show through the fabric, but it's going to give it a little bit more durability, you know, because these sharp edges and where the fabric goes over, it tends to break eventually from closing and opening. So again, I push this against and I bring that there. I'll align the top and bottom. Like so. Again, put something heavy. Take your masking tape. Just do this. That's it. It's quite simple. So now you turn it the other way and you bring this in. Now if you have a bone folder, you can push these edges a little bit in. Masking tape is quite, it's kind of flexible, so it rarely breaks. But you can press, you can also use old cards. I think I left this a bit too long. That. You just press it in. Now you see it is able to close without problems. You could even turn it this way, but then, you know, I prefer the crease to be on the inside, because when I put the fabric, I want it to go into that area there. Alright, so you see it opens and it closes. Alright, so this is going to be our inside, and that's going to be the outside of our gem. So now we need to glue the fabric, and if you have a larger piece of fabric, I suggest you test it out to see how your design is going to look, you know, depending on how you move it. So let's see, because I want to be able to see more of the rose, of that rose on the front. Just checking out how would that look. Or if I go this way, what would that look like? I'll only see a little bit. So I think I want to go all the way, as much as possible. I want to go onto this side. And for here, if I want this text to be showing more, or this one, and I think I prefer this, so I will align my fabric like that. so I'll have to cut off the excess, but I will worry about that later. So for now I just have to add the glue. Now you can do this in several steps. You can do the middle first and then the sides, and that would probably be the smart way to do it, but you know, I like to do it all at once. So I spread the glue, and I'm using just acetone based glue. It's the one that doesn't warp the paper and it dries really fast. I don't know if you can use PVA glue on fabric. I don't know if that's gonna hold. Perhaps it will, but I don't know. I haven't tried it. I've always been using stronger glues like this one. And it's important that you spread it. So I just take a scrap piece of paper and I spread it. You don't want it too thick in some areas because it's not going to look good. You get bumps. Glue. So always spread from the center towards the edges. That works best, I think. Okay, this is already starting to dry. And now turn it around. And we place it like that. So I want to have, well, 3/4 of an inch for folding. That's plenty. Okay, now we can turn it this way. And then I do this because if the fabric needs to stretch, it's better it does now. Okay, you don't have any glue coming through, that's great. Alright, so fabric is a material that does stretch a little bit, so if you were to do this with paper, then I'd probably suggest do the spine first, then the sides. But with fabric it gives a little bit, you know, so you don't have to. So what I do now, I have to trim this off. Okay, you can use that for decorations in your journal. Just put it in your scrap pile. So here, now the tricky part is always, oh, I cut a bit too much here, that's alright, to do the corners. Like, you can do that, glue that and then have that, but then it would create a lot of bulk. And then if you cut too much, again, it's not good because it's going to show. So the way I work out how much I need to cut is I pull this in. I destroyed it. Sorry. I'll just clip that like that, and this side. Because I've done it before, I would cut too much and it wouldn't look good, or I wouldn't cut enough and I still had the bulk. So you see how it's almost forming a little angle. So I simply now, I don't cut it all the way here, but I cut, I don't know if you can see, like that. So when you open it up, that's it. This part is important that you have a little bit there, but this could actually be even a bit more. All right, yeah, that would be ideal. So you have a little bit extra there, but then these parts, they actually, when you fold it like that, they meet exactly in the middle. So now you need to do the same for all of these. Again, do it this way. I would have used what I cut off here, but I didn't cut it right the first time, so I'm going to try again. I might have to move these a little bit. Okay. Hold your scissors straight. Let's get it. And you see you have enough here to go over, but then when these fold, they will meet perfectly. So now I can just use this. Actually I can't, because I'll tell you why. These allowances are not the same. Over here they're actually smaller than this, so I think this is probably the safest way for me to do it. Again, I would put them there, put the scissors, and I just cut. Great. Or you can just cut it and hope for the best. I've done that before as well. You know, just cut a corner off and then hope it's gonna work. Sometimes it does, but most of the time it doesn't. Alright, so we've done the corners. Now we also need to do a little kind of like, you see when we do this and then when you fold, this is a thick fabric, it will bulk here, so we need to cut a little bit, a tiny bit, but not all the way. You just have to leave the thickness of the cardstock. You know, imagine you place that there and then you're cutting only to there, not all the way to the cover. And again, just on an angle. Okay, I hope you can see. That's the amount that I cut off. Now I'm lifting this up towards the camera and I have no idea if I'm in the frame. Hopefully. Alright. Hope you can see. So let's do the same on this side. Great. Alright, so first things first, let's just glue these corners first. So I'm using this silicone brush for this glue because it's so easy to clean. When the glue dries, you just peel it off, and it's great for, you know, fiddly work like this. So I'll just put a little bit of glue onto the sides and here. Okay, just like that. I'll put a clip. So just on the edge and here, and then I'll put a clip. And we do the same for all. Should I put these up before? This glue grabs really quickly, but still, you know, I like to put the clip. If you don't have these clips, you can use just ordinary, if I have an example, clothespins, or these, or just place something heavy to hold it in place. Alright, now let's see, we do this one first. It's already there, it's already holding strong. So now I want to do these bits. Again, I'll just put a bit of glue here, like that, and then I'll spread it here and also here. I'll do the same on this side. Are not really cooperating with me. It just flew off. I suppose I can take them off. Alright. Now this part. So again, the same principle. You add glue, spread it nicely with your brush here as well, a little bit on the fabric, and pull the fabric tight, and just push a little bit there, but because we cut it up, it won't really matter. I love using this glue, but the only thing I don't like about it is such a strong smell. Really, it sometimes makes me dizzy. I have to air the room afterwards. And normally when I do this, I open the window, but it's really cold today. Let's do these as well in the same way. So add the glue, spread it to the sides as well. Just pull gently. Alright, so let's see. Nice. We lost that writing over there, but I don't mind. I prefer this here because that's going to be the front. Alright, so now when you fold these again, you have a chance to, before you glue it down, you have a chance to see if it's going to look alright and if you need to trim more or not. But I think it's going to be okay. And I'm going to put the corners anyway, so they're also great for if you're not really comfortable or making fabric covered journals because of the corners that end up messy. You just put a corner protector and it basically hides any mistakes, so they're really great for that purpose as well. It just makes everything look nice and neat in the end. Okay, see here, I think I have a little bit too much fabric, so it's not too late to cut it now. Just put a clip here, it's fine. What's wrong with these? Oh, they're falling apart on me. Okay, we shall do the same on this side. I have to work really fast with this glue. If I'm not fast enough, it dries so quickly. Okay, this one looks good. And on this side, I think it'll get away, but I want to just trim a little bit. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So depending on what type of glue you're using, you should probably leave that to dry a little bit. Yeah. Before you fold it. Okay. So the next step, before you put your inner pieces, these ones that I've already inked mine, and as you can see, I didn't ink on this side because it's really not necessary. I'm going to put fabric there. Okay, but before you do that, if you're going to add things like this to the cover, you know, you better do it now, because you will use this to hide those split pins. I suppose you could glue this. I haven't tried gluing metal onto the fabric. I'm kind of skeptical. I don't think it would hold, so I've been using these. I just trust these more. And I think for this journal, I suppose I can fold it now. Yep. Once I put the fabric on, then I decide where I want this. Sometimes it works if it's down there, but here I don't want to cover this and I don't want to cover that, and it seems to be empty on top. So I would put it there, and I think it looks really good there. I could go lower or higher, but then I don't want it to be exactly on the line, so I just want it about there. And the way I do it, I just mark with my marker or pencil or whatever you want to use. Just place it where I want it, but then I check if it's the same distance. You see, I think it needs to be a little bit more to that side. This one. Like that. It seems to be alright, so I'll just mark, make two dots there. And then I just use, you know, the tool that we use to bind awl, is it called awl? And I just punch a hole there and here. Okay, it does create a little bit of kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Buckles up, so you can cut it. Suppose this was So you take this, and these have, as you can see, they're designed so that you can put the paper inside, or a label on one side. So you don't want to place it like that, because whatever you put in is going to fall out. So you want to turn it the right way, like that. And then you grab your split pin and you put it through. Take another one. Where did I put it? Oh. Okay, and you check if it sits right. It seems to be okay. I suppose I can take these off now. Just in my way. Looks good. Okay, so now you will need a tool like something that is flat. It could even be your metal ruler or a small screwdriver, or palette knife. I like to use the palette knife. So you put it in between those two pins and you push. Okay, you push down into this chipboard. Okay, so it's quite thin, this palette knife, so I place it inside and just push on either side. Just use something like this. Alright, you want to press it in enough, because you don't want the bulk showing through the paper here once you put it there. Alright, it's starting to look like a journal. Let's see if we made the same size. Seems to be. Great. Alright, so the next step, like if you're not going to add anything else that needs putting holes through the cover, you can actually continue with this step. And this is quite simple, you know, you just add glue and then you glue it. It's as simple as that. And again, you make sure that the glue goes all the way to the edge. You don't want it to lift off, but also you need some in the middle. Okay, you take your scrap piece of paper, okay. Get some of the acetate, and you press it from the middle toward ends. Okay. And you want it to be approximately same distance here as here. Here. And you can see it doesn't go all the way to the, it can go a little bit further. I'll just cut it like that, but not too far because it's going to create too much bulk otherwise. Okay, so now because you put this, do not use this. It's going to show those pins, so just press with your fingers and concentrate on the ends or edges, and a little bit there and here, and that is probably enough. If you see that it's lifting off somewhere, like here, just grab some more glue to brush something. Oh, it doesn't want to come out. Oh, I took the old one. Oh. Okay. And you just put it there, and it's good to actually put the clips no matter what glue you use, because paper tends to stick to the fabric a little bit more difficult when you do it like this. See here, it seems to be alright. I destroyed most of my clips. Okay, just like that. Now let's do the same on this side. Again. Stuck like this. Suppose we can move these here now. Go almost done. Now sometimes I add sewing to the cover, and sometimes I don't, but with these ones I don't. I think they look alright like that, but you could if you wanted, if you're not scared of ruining your machine, because tripod is actually really thick. It might be a bit more difficult for your sewing machine, but if you're using a thinner, like a cardstock or something else, you could certainly go and do like stitching around, the zigzag or straight stitch or some decorative stitch, whatever you like. You see that brush is a miracle. It stays clean. You just wipe off the excess. You don't have to wash it, and it's great. I love them. Okay, so one more step is this. Like I said at the beginning, if you want to have a neat edge, you would probably need to fold this in and maybe do a straight stitch on your sewing machine on one side, and then do the same on this side. But I actually like this frayed look, and I want to have the same here, so I will just make a little cut, and I'll just do this. And this is muslin fabric, and it's the way it's made, it's quite almost non-porous, so it's fine to use without adding this black stuff. And if I was to add something like that, I would use the white one instead of the black, but I only have black left. Anyway, it does look a bit different because this is not white, but I don't mind, you know, it's going to be behind the signatures, so it's fine. But you could certainly gesso or color, or maybe even put a masking tape on this side, but I'm not going to. I will just glue this on like that. Another thing is, if you decide to put paper here instead of fabric, I tried that as well, and I didn't like the result. Paper tends to tear once you go and do this, you know, it just tears, you know, if you're not careful, it tears. So for this part, you will have to glue it first, the middle bit. Okay. Right, now you don't want to do it all at once because it has to go into those areas in between here. Okay, let's get a piece of paper. We spread the glue again. Don't want it to seep through the fabric. Okay. And you try to put it in the middle. It doesn't always work. I should have made myself little marks. It's not too late. I will put there and here just so I know how far I should go. Okay, it's close enough. No seeping through, that's good. Put that there. Okay, as you can see, this hasn't been glued, and that is alright, because now we want this fabric inside. And you know how we have masking tape over there? It is a little bit sticky, so it's going to hold this like that. Okay. And here I think this masking tape is a bit too tight, like that. Great. So it's sticky enough to hold it, and I wouldn't put more glue onto it, just not necessary. Okay, I'll use my brush and this is probably too much glue, but I will wipe off the excess. So I'm pushing from the middle towards here, because I know these frayed edges will need some glue as well, but I don't want too much. I don't want it to show through too much. Okay, this is starting to dry. So here we go. Perfect. Great. Okay, let's do the same on this side again. I just have to push that in a bit more. I'm pushing from the middle towards here. I want the glue to be almost dry. That way it will grab immediately and there will be no seeping through the fabric. Great. our cover. How cute is that? And it folds nicely. It holds its shape. You can work it out a little bit. If you were to use thicker fabric for this part here, you would have to make a bigger gap, because you don't want too much bulk there. It will not look good. You can see now that I've been closing it and opening it. I want it to smooth out any of the bumps. It's done. I love how it looks. Now, one more thing left to do is add those. They can be tricky. I find sometimes it's easy to do and sometimes they give me trouble. But I usually open up a little bit one side with a... Just give me a second. With a screwdriver like that, I put it inside, hold it in place, and I just open up like that. And I do the same here. Okay. And I turn that side toward the inside. Put this here. That way it will let my paper slide in nicely. Now, for this part we also need a hammer and this. And the way I do it, because if I just press this now with this, they would open up. I know I've tried, so I press down one of the sides down and just tap a little bit. See? Just tap. Now while you're holding it there, now you push it in. Just press. And again it opened up. I think it looks good. So let's do that again. So we take whatever tool you have, you just push down and open it up, just to make it a little bit wider. You see, this is what it looks like if we don't open it up, and this is what it looks like if we do. It's just easier to put on. That. Okay, so again I just press it down one side and just do a tap. Try to hold it with both hands and then press. It still might open, but looks good. I think it looks good. And let's do the same for those two. Here we have a little bit more bulk, and if that happens, you take Where's my smaller? Anyway, you take something. This is probably not the good. Just take this. You hold the paper like that, and then you go over, because otherwise it might push the paper and destroy your corner. So. It is fiddly, but it's so worth the result. Good. And one more. There is our cover. Isn't it gorgeous? Let's test it out. I'll just grab these signatures from the other journal just to see. Nice. It's going to be nice. I will probably make a little band like this, similar to that one, but not this one. This is from the other journal. Something to go with the cover. But, you know, I think it's really, really cute journal and great size. I also made myself, where is it? A template for the spine. And the way I do it, it's for the binding. I basically take these measurements there on a piece of paper, then I fold in half, and I fold in half, and I mark the center, and I mark 1 inch from the bottom, and that would be the middle signature. And I usually do either 3, I do 1, 3 or 5. I rarely do 2 or 4, but I did sometimes. It's just this works better. Okay, and I have this then to use for other journals, especially if I make them the same size. I don't have to do this again. I just save it. I'll put it somewhere. I have a whole heap of them. I'll show you. It's best if they're on cardstock, and you know, you just keep them. This is for a smaller journal. From a journal, for a journal with a lot of signatures. It's not 5 here, 2. You know, you keep them, and then when you about to bind your journal, it just makes your life easier. I hope you found this easy to follow. Hope I made sense, and thank you for watching, and I hope I see you in my next video. Bye for now.